week in Svelte, episode 127, which, by the way, fun fact, is my first very car. Like, my first car was a Fiat, which is an Italian automotive company. It was like the 127 model, which was very, very small, and it was very, very big. Happy New Year! This is the first this week in Svelte of 2026, after a bit of vacation, a bit of relax, and I'm ready to jump right into it. And today we'll take it slowly, and we'll just talk about the changelog. There are a lot of small releases here and there, and we'll see. All right, let's jump right into it, and let's see what we can talk about. So we have Svelte 5.46.1, which is typing for current target in the on function. So now current target is actually typed correctly. So like if you are using like adding an event on a button, current target will be a button, which is nice. Skip static optimization for stateless derived after a wait. So that's nice. Basically, you have some optimization for static. I think this might actually be a bug. So like, I think the problem here is that like if a derived is static, we don't need to create a derived. I assume that's what it's referring to, but if it is after an await, we might need to still do stuff. All right, fix prevent infinite loop. Oh, you know what this will probably be like. What probably is this? The fact that if it is static, we don't need to create a derived, but if it is after an await, the value of that before that await might not be already there, and since we are not actually awaiting in the template, we need to also set up the derived, probably. All right, prevent infinite loop when HMRing a component with an await. So if you are doing HMR, which is hot model replacement, so if you change a component that has an await, it could end up in an infinite loop, because basically, when we are doing HMR, the component itself is a source, it's a signal, and so probably what could have led to is like continuously changing the component whenever it was HMR'd. Reconnect clean derived when they are read in a reactive context. Yep. So this is actually something that I need to get back a bit into it, because recently Rich changed how unknown derived are handled. Before there was this concept of an unknown derived, and now there's just like this connected and connected derived, which is a bit different, and I still didn't touch that part of the code base when since they changed it, and so like I'm a bit in the dark about what's actually going on. But yeah, basically, if derived are read in a reactive context, they are also reconnected, even if they are clean. So that's probably the bug. Use the value and eval to serialize hydratable keys. So this, guys, is also a CVA. So if you were not aware, recently, and let me actually, this should have been probably the start of the episode. I forgot. But if you take a look at the blog, you can see that the latest release is a CVA affecting the Svelte ecosystem. So after the React CVA that hit a few, I guess, a month or so ago, there are a lot of people going around like specifically targeting, and I mean targeting in a good way, don't get me wrong, like looking into open source frameworks to see if they have any possible vulnerability. And they found 5 into the Svelte ecosystem. Now, those are in different packages, and most of them are actually pretty blunt in the sense that they are not like you don't have remote code execution. It was mostly focused around devalue and the fact that we use devalue, which is a library that Rich wrote and it's now maintained under the Svelte umbrella. And it is basically, it's basically a bunch of way to DDoS your server if you are using devalue, but you also need to use both remote functions enabled. So as you can see, this, if you're using the value version from 5.1.0 through 5.6.1, and you are parsing user-controlled input. So if you are parsing something that the user provide, it could lead to DDoS, and it basically needs to send a malicious payload. And we are using that in remote functions. So because we are running, the parameters are run through devalue.parse. So if you don't have remote functions enabled, don't worry about it. There is another devalue.parse CVA. So it's similar but different, which run through devalue from 5.3.0 through 5.6.1. And again, is basically only if you are using remote functions. There is another in specifically SvelteKit, which is memory amplification DOS in remote function binary form, the serializer. So we recently released in SvelteKit 2.49.0 a new custom-made protocol to send a binary form so that we can quickly get the headers of the form and validate very easily and very fast the values of the form before having to unpack the whole binary. But this led to user can submit a malicious request that causes your application to hang and allocate arbitrarily large amount of memory. So this was also fixed in SvelteKit, so upgrade if you are using it. Obviously, you need to use remote functions and you need to use form. So if you are not using remote functions or if you're not using form, that's fine. I don't know, I wonder if, no, maybe that's even if you're not using files with that. There's also another in SvelteKit, specifically in adapter node, which is also denial of service using SSRF, which is server-side remote forgery, I guess. No, because CSRF is cross-site remote request forgery. I don't know what's SSRF. Let me see. SSRF, server-side request forgery. Okay. Attackers to trick a server into making an authorized request. Okay. So you are using SvelteKit from 2.44.0 through 2.41.4, and your app has at least one pre-rendered route. And if you are using SvelteKit, your app has at least one pre-rendered route, and you're using adapter node without a configured origin environment variable, and you're not using a reverse proxy that implements host header validation. So again, yes, those are vulnerability, but if the stars align, it's possible to obtain SXSS via cache positioning by forcing a potential CDN to cache an XSS returned by an attacker service. Those are we still want to disclose them safely, and you should still upgrade luckily those were not very big vulnerability. This is probably the biggest one. So if you are using hydratable and you are passing unsanitized user control strings as keys, which is not something that you generally do. So like we've seen hydratable works like this. So like if you want, you can basically import hydratable from Svelte, and you need to basically do const x is equal hydratable. You need to pass a key, which should be unique throughout your whole your whole app, and then you pass a function that returns something, and this will be hydrated from the server to the client. So like if I just print this will be 43. But obviously, the vulnerability is if you are accepting a string from a user and use that string within hydratable. So that's, I would assume that's pretty unlikely, but it is a CVA nonetheless. So like, please upgrade Svelte. So yeah, those were some CVAs that were luckily, like the security team at Vercel helped us like figuring out how to safely disclose those and like what's the process of publishing those CVAs. And many thank you to the reporters too, because again, when you find this kind of bugs, you have basically two choices, maybe three. Like you can exploit them, you can publicly announce, hey, I found and discovered this vulnerability, or you can actually do the right thing and safely disclose them. So like you let the team know so that we can work on a fix, and once we fix it, we can release a new version and then announce, please upgrade everyone so that you are safe. So yeah, that was yesterday and we released it. All right, let's see SvelteKit. We have 3 new release. And we can see, so avoid false positive Vite config overridden warning when using Vitest 4. Okay, so with Vitest 4, probably we're not overriding some Vite config anymore. It was a false positive and we removed the warning. Add TypeScript as an optional peer dependency. That's interesting. Okay. Use has own check when deep setting object properties. So this also was like, it was not really a response to the React bleed, React to shell vulnerability. But obviously when a vulnerability comes out in some other framework, the first thing that we do is we go and see if we are vulnerable too. And while we were not vulnerable, this was still something good to do, and so we actually did it. Support instrumentation for Vite preview. So instrumentation is like, it's a part, like basically in Svelte, recently we released like observability and you can instrument something. So the instrumentation is basically something that gets executed before everything else in the app, and it was not working with Vite preview and now it is. Support URL search param has name value overload. Oh, that's nice. I didn't even knew that it existed. So I wonder what does it does. So like URL search params dot has. Let's see. So has name value, the value of the parameter along with the given name to match. That's very interesting. So like you can also check that, like not only that it's present, but that it has this specific value. That's very interesting. I didn't knew it existed, and that's nice. Put forking behind experimental fork preloads. Oh, that's yeah, okay. So forking, it's basically, so in SvelteKit, when you before the advent of async Svelte, you could like hover over a link and we would just call the load function to start preloading the data. We cannot do that anymore with async Svelte because the data might render within your component. Like you might fetch data directly into your component. And we cannot start preloading that until we mount the component. And so we introduced fork. So fork is an API that is exposed from Svelte, and basically it allows you to basically start rendering the component within a fragment, so like detached from the DOM. But this will kick off every async work that is available, and then you can commit it, and that's where the DOM is actually mounted to the DOM. It was causing some problem, and also like there were some people that were not able to upgrade because of forking, and so we decided, okay, let's say we put it behind an experimental so that if you are having some problem with fork, you can still upgrade Svelte and SvelteKit separately, and like they don't have to go toes and toes. So that's nice. Avoid overriding Vite default base when running Vite 4. This is probably related to the one before. Ensure URL decoded path names are not mistaken as rerouted requests. So when you see something like this, this is the change for this is the change for the CVA. So like it's not a PR, this is just a commit. The reason we need to do this is because we don't want to open a PR that exposes the vulnerability before we actually fix it. So like we want to immediately like fix the vulnerability and then brought it directly into main release and do as fast as possible everything. And so like this is, those two were the vulnerability for, like you can see that the remote forms one and URL decoded path names are not mistaken as reroute request. Let's see what else we have. We have an adapter Cloudflare, await init on every request to prevent race condition. That's interesting because the init hook, let me see, let me quickly see what this is about. Race condition in the Cloudflare worker where concurrent requests during cold start can bypass server initialization. Oh, okay. Okay, so this was specifically within the Cloudflare adapter. Okay, which I mean, like it makes sense. Like it is what is being released. But yeah, I thought it was talking about the init hook. Instead, it's a different thing. And update dependency. So this is just so that you are not like, this is the CVA stuff for SvelteKit. All right. Adapter node, this obviously has add env vars for keep alive timeout and headers timeout. So this is just some environment variables that you can specify to change the behavior of this thing here. And this is obviously add validation for protocol, host, and port header values. Like this is the CVA basically. And update dependency, again, this is just for the CVA. And Senior Generoso is saying, I didn't know about the CVA, so many React, but didn't catch this one. Yeah, again, like there are a lot of frameworks that are receiving a lot of CVAs because after the React one, everybody is focusing on, okay, let's see if anybody else has some similar kind of vulnerability, which to be fair is good. Like this might feel like oh, we are getting bad PRs out of this, but that's not true. Like we don't care about bad PRs. We care about the fact that your code is actually secure. So that's nice. Okay, SvelteKit adapter Vercel mark request context as deprecated and refer to Vercel function. Okay, and update dependency. All right. We have 2 new releases of the Svelte MCP, which is one. This is very interesting. So like it's exposed tools as JS API plus CLI. So this is something that I wanted to do from a long time. The reason is this Svelte MCP obviously is an MCP server. However, a lot of people they don't probably like the MCP server because an MCP server adds a bit of context bloat. Now, the Svelte MCP server does not. It adds a very minimal amount of tokens, but it does add a bit of tokens. And there is a solution to that. And the solution is to use a skill. And so we released, okay, that is not released. So it's just a plugin in the MCP. But basically we released a skill so that you can teach your LLM to use the Svelte CLI as a sort of MCP server. Let me show you. So if I open a new tab like this, I don't know if I can zoom in. Yeah, I can. I can do npx at svelte.js/mcp, and this is our CLI. So if I just run it like this, now I'm running the Svelte MCP here. So here I'm running the Svelte MCP. But if I do like this and I do help, for example, now I'm actually using the CLI not as an MCP server, but as a command, as a CLI. And you can see that I have basically the same commands as the MCP server. So I have the Svelte autofixer, the get documentation, and the list section. So for example, I can do get documentation, and I can pass the extra argument, which is $state, Svelte, Svelte/$state, for example. And this will get me the documentation of state, for example, right? So this is the documentation that teaches you how to use the state runes in Svelte. And I can do something like, I don't know, Svelte/await expression, and this will give you the documentation about how to use await inside Svelte. And so basically the LLM, instead of using the MCP server, can just call the CLI like this and get the things that it needs. You can do the same thing with Svelte autofixer. And you can see that this will give you, if I do help, you can basically pass, if it's a sync, if it's the desired Svelte version, and then you can either pass a file name or the code. And so if I want, I can do something like, I don't know, script, and then I can do something like this, and I can do, I don't know, let x is equal to 0. I think I can do this to fix it. $state 0, $effect x++. I don't know if that's correct, but basically I'm writing the code in line, and now if I do this, I will receive, as you can see, my suggestions, like the stateful variable x is assigned inside an effect, which is generally considered a malpractice. Consider using a derivative if possible. So this is the thing that the LLM will see and will basically invoke. So instead of invoking the MCP server, it's just literally invoking the CLI. And with the skill available, you can also do the same. Basically, the skill is what teaches your teaches your LLM how to call the CLI and when to call the CLI. So that's pretty interesting. And they are also exposed as a JavaScript API. So if you want, you can actually install the MCP server as a package. And once you do that, you can actually import like Svelte Autofixer and manually pass the values to manually pass the values to the function, and so you get the same result. So if you want, I don't know, to use it manually inside your presentation or whatever. So that's pretty interesting. We also added a suggestion for script declared in a script tag. So like if you have, sometimes the LLM basically just try to create a snippet within the script tag, which is a type error. And so now there is a suggestion for this. Something that I want to tell you is that we also released, so like right now, if you go to the docs, you can see that we now also have a Cloud Code plugin. So basically the MCP repository for like the Svelte.js/MCP repository is a Cloud Code marketplace, which means that you can do stuff like this. Inside Cloud Code, you can do plugin marketplace add Svelte.js/MCP. And this will give you, like once you install the Svelte plugin, this will give you the skill, the subagent, and the MCP. So like it's all packaged together in a Cloud plugin. And the skill, as I've said, basically teaches you your LLM how to use the CLI. And if you want, you can also go to the release page and see like the latest release of the skill. So like it's a zip file that you can just download and put in your skill folder to use it. But something interesting is that we also released a sub-agent. So like something that I didn't realize before is that like every file change that you have to make inside Svelte is pretty atomic as a result, right? Like you are just changing one file and the LLM is figuring out how to write that file. And so what you can do is that you can use a sub-agent if your client supports it. And what this will do is that it will spin up a brand new agent, which the sole purpose is to create, is literally just to communicate with the MCP server and write the file to the system. So like basically this sub-agent will take the MCP server, like it can ask the documentation questions, it can ask it can iterate on the autofixer issues, and all of these will have its own context window. So like the main agent will not waste context. It will do everything within this sub-agent, which means that your main context window will remain untouched from the rest, which is pretty nice, to be fair. One disadvantage of the sub-agent is the fact that if you are doing this, you are probably wasting a bit more tokens because it's a new instance every time. So like every time it has to refetch the same documentation, for example, it has to go over the same process over and over again and stuff like that. So like it could waste a bit more tokens. Or if you have something like Copilot subscription, it will be a new premium request. So like you need to pay attention to that. But to be fair, I think it's way better to use one extra request like this than to get dumber model because you waste so much context on the main agent. By the way, we will talk about that in a future episode. But we also released, we're about to release the same thing for OpenCode. So like if you are using OpenCode, there will be an OpenCode plugin that will basically set up everything for you. So you can install this OpenCode plugin. It will give you the MCP server, the MCP server, the sub-agent, even an instruction file. So well, that's nice. Let's see, I see the chat talking about something. So, haven't tried AI with Svelte yet. It seems there's a lot of effort to make it work. Let me see if I can highlight your message. Haven't tried AI with Svelte yet. It seems there's a lot of effort to make it work. I should give it a try, although is it worth it? So, I mean, okay, let's talk a bit about this thing. So, I would say right now models are getting very, very good. So, I'm using AI more and more, and the reason why I'm using AI more and more is because like Opus 4.5, for example, is very good. I was able to like open up PR to Svelte for a very complex thing with Opus, and Opus basically wrote most of the code. I was there directing him because obviously like there's something that it didn't do correctly, but you can steer it and it will write good code, and it has a pretty like a very good, even better than most, like even better than me to be fair, understanding of the whole code base, like in the sense that not the whole code base, but it can navigate the code base very easily. Like it can follow along function call and stuff like that to gain an understanding of what's going on, and then it can clearly show you this thing so that you can actually follow along and say, oh, yeah, you're right, that's correct. Or you can say, yeah, but don't do this, like you can simplify these and stuff like that. So like with Opus 4.5, that is the first time that I've seen like a model very, very good at changing stuff. Which means that for very for simpler thing, if you can use the Svelte MCP or the Svelte skill to steer it into write proper Svelte code, it can be a game changer. Like I put together some like nice UI and I wrote some like website that I didn't even look at the code because like it was just a side project, and it put together some pretty good Svelte 5 code with remote functions, and I was able to like quickly spin up something that also looked way better than I could make it because I'm not a designer. And so like it is worth it in my opinion. Like you can at least try to like play with it. So try it and see. Let's see, we have another message here, which is if the context is the same, I think services will cache it, like OpenAI. Some don't like Azure AI. So prompt caching is a bit weird because basically to cache some tokens, you literally have to send the same exact word. Like basically how prompt caching works is that every time you add a message to the queue, the whole prompt is still sent back to the LLM. The prompt caching means that since like if you have a very huge conversation and like all of these is the same and just the last bit is different, they can basically reuse the same inference as before and just append the last bit to it so that it will cost them less and it will cost you less. But if you change even one comma inside this blob, that the whole thing will not get cached. So I don't think for different agents, prompt caching will work. I might be wrong, but I don't think it will work. So we have another message. Let's see. Is there a need to add documentation regarding the newly opened issue in MCP? To add in documentation regarding the newly opened issue in MCP. So can you like clarify what do you mean? So like if you're talking about adding documentation to the MCP, like the new stuff that comes out, that is pretty like every time we release a new version of the MCP, it's also bundled with the updated documentation. The remote version, actually not even bundled, like it's literally fetching the documentation. So like it will always be up to date with the current documentation. if you talk about the new stuff that the LLM gets wrong, yeah, in that case, we need to, like, if you find something that the LLM gets constantly wrong with Svelte, open an issue on the MCP repo and we can write an auto fixer for it so that in the future the LLM will not get wrong that thing. So let's see, new message like, I trust you, thank you. It seems LLM are getting there. I try them for time to time, but always get frustrated. It feels like I'm making the AI work instead of making the code work. But surely they are advancing. Yeah, it also depends on a bunch of stuff. Like, it depends on your project, it depends on the model that you're using, it depends on the harness that you're using. So like, if you use, I don't know, like a less powerful harness, even a good model could behave less good. So you need to explore and you need to find what works for you. So, but I think it's worth at least exploring this thing, because it's undeniable that they are making a splash in the world of web development. So even if you don't super like them, you should probably at least give it a try and see, like, so that you can justify why you don't want to use it. If you never try them, and you don't want to use them, people are gonna say, yeah, but why don't you want to use it? And you will not have an answer, and that will look very bad. So I will probably at least try to at least try it. All right, let's move on to Vite plugins Svelte, which should be, let me see, I think, let me, okay. Antoine, I think the problem here is probably that Vite plugins Svelte has a beta release, so maybe the website is not able to deal with that. It's not an issue, obviously, just so that you know. Let me see if we can see Vite plugin inspector. Switch from debug to obug and update the dependency. All right. I also think that Vite plugin Svelte inspector is gonna be deprecated. I might be wrong, and it will just be bundled with Vite plugin Svelte probably in the future. We'll see. Slint plugin Svelte, no navigation without resolve, ignoring links with rel external. So that's nice. I think this is the feature that most people dread, because it's difficult to, it's very difficult to adhere to no navigation without resolve, because the moment you have, I don't know, search params, that's already, like, you cannot use resolve, and so you have to, like, mute it, and a lot of people don't like to mute warnings. So yeah, it is what it is, but it's getting better. Extension, so new release of the extension with a bunch of perf optimization. I think these were a lot of stuff done by James, which is doing a terrific job with performance, like, in general. Very nice. Move return statement get completion, so it returns immediately if possible. Avoid global completion in components, start tag. Optimize path normalization. Optimize model resolution, cache invalidation check. Add some limit to store auto import. Avoid reacting completion items for Svelte syntax every time. So the extension should be way snappier now because of this. So take a look. And let's see. We have 3 new release of SV, which is our beloved CLI. Cloudflare, able to fully set up Cloudflare adapter from workers page. So that's a new, I think, like, Cloudflare released a new version of their own CLI, but basically now you are able to really set up everything from SV, which is nice. Sanitize Wrangler project name to comply with Cloudflare naming requirements. Cloudflare use a relative path for worker configuration type in the tsconfig file. Local preview is now using 4173 so that it works with the playwright test command. Svelte check is probably ensure await block type is preserved with the latest Svelte version. Okay. That language server, this is also the perf optimization that we have seen. Svelte to TSX. Yeah, that's the same. And that's actually it. Okay. Speaking of what will come soon, hopefully, and I'm just doing this not because I want to brag, but because I want you to break it. And actually, let's actually just do, because like there's a lot of stuff here. I specifically want you to look at something. So I don't know if you know about this, but a bit ago, Chrome released a new version of a new parser for select. So now, if I open CodePen, for example, I'm gonna show you pen.new. So if you have a select was historically very difficult to, sorry for the bang, for the flash bang. Let me do body background 222 just for. So a select was very difficult to style historically. So to fix it, they released a new parser, which unfortunately broke a bunch of frameworks. So now basically you can do something like this. And you can do, I don't know, rich content, right? So this doesn't currently work, and the reason why it doesn't work is because right now it's not styled differently. So like, even if you open this, like it's the good old select, but you can change this by doing select and picker select. So there's this new selector, and then you can do appearance and you can say base select. And when I do this, you can see that this actually changed. And the reason why it changed is because now this is a rich select. And so you can see that when I open this, you can see that this is actually bold, and this is actually, probably I should use E to do italic. So you can see that like this is bold and this is italic, and if I select it, and you can also do stuff like you can have a button here as the first argument, like as the first thing of the select, and you can have selected content like this, and this will basically clone the content here. So like once you select, like if you have multiple options, let's do Paolo Ricciuti, which is me. And so you can see that the rich content and then Paolo Ricciuti, and then when I select, this is actually, and obviously like they don't have to be the same, like they can literally be whatever, like I can do the opposite here and it will still work. So that's pretty nice. And wait, background, I don't know, let's do color EE so that we can see it. So you can see, that's annoying. It's fine. Don't worry about it. So right now, like you can do stuff like it's very nice because like you can add images here. You can style it like very much. The problem is that this becomes a big problem in Svelte or in any other framework because if you access the page on an old browser where, so let's say for example Firefox, if I open this in Firefox, let me see if I can save it. So if I open Firefox, the same code in Firefox will look like this. If I paste that in and I zoom in, you can see that in this case, it looks like a plain old select. So this is nice because it's very progressive and ansible. So like you can write this somewhere. The problem is that if I inspect the element, you can see that inside my HTML, like the browser literally removed like this B tag is not there at all. Like point blank, like it's not there at all. And this is a problem because if you have a dynamic variable here, so let's say that you are doing this in Svelte and you have a dynamic variable here, the problem is that we need to say somewhere in your code b.textContent is equal to your variable, right? And we need to hook it up so that it continuously do so with JavaScript. And that's a problem because if you SSR this page and you come here and we try to do b.textContent in Firefox, there will be no b or no e to change the content of. And so it will fail. And so this is the reason why if you go to the Svelte playground right now and you try to paste this in, so if we go to the playground and we do this, and I do this, you can see that button cannot be a child of select. And even if I remove the button, then B cannot be a child of option. So like we need to have this in place because otherwise you will try to put something dynamic there, we will not be able to do it, and your whole application will crash. And so like we put these guardrails in line. However, obviously like this is a new feature that a lot of people are excited about, and we want you to be able to do that. And by the way, there's literally no framework right now that can do hydration with this. Like even Next.js, React that like does not have signals and stuff like that, cannot do this. Like you can use it in React, it will not stop you from doing that, but then when you SSR the page and you hydrate the page, if you open it in Chrome, it will work. If you open it in Firefox, it will not. But we have it now. So like this is actually ready as a PR. So it started with a different plan, but now it's actually like we changed the plan. But the point is that now you can actually do this. And so if you open the playground here, you can see that if I paste this in, you don't get the error anymore. You get this warning because the button does not have an ARIA label, but if I add the ARIA label is equal like select something, you can see that it is working. And if we add the styling, it will work too. So like if I open this one, this one, and I do style and I do this, it will work. As you can see, it will work here, and this will also work in Firefox. So it will work in the sense that it will not fail hydration. So like if I open this in Firefox, you can see that it will have the same behavior as before. So like it will be a normal select, which is good. But there are a lot of reactivity also works. So like if I do, I don't know, let count is equal to $state 0, and then we do button count and click count plus plus, and let's say that we use count within here, for example. You can see that this is working perfectly fine. And if I switch back to here, you can see that this is working. Oh, it's not working. Oh no, I know why it's not working. This is a problem that I don't know if we can do something about. The problem is that when you, like, as you can see, like this works here. So if I zoom in like this, it works. The problem is that this is a problem on how selected content work. So selected content, what it does is that once you select something, it clones this node and puts it like this. And the problem is that it clones the nodes, like it's completely separated from the rest. So I don't know if we can do something about it, which is absolutely annoying, to be fair. But like, as you can see, if I do this, it will like update the one, and then if I select it, it gets cloned again, and it works in that sense. I need to figure out how to make it work, because technically one way you can do it is that you can like clear up the button and recreate the button, but I don't know, like, I don't know. I need to figure out, like, this will be a different thing. But what I'm asking you to do is, if you have time, please go into this PR and try to make it, try to break it. Because for example, I was like working with Sevennik, and he found a couple of ways in which you could break it. Because for example, for CSS, that's another wild thing. Like basically, if you do selected content.b, it will select this b once you select this thing. So like if I do selected content b and I do color red, basically this will select, like it will color the B in red only when it's selected. So like, as you can see, like here is not red because that's not within selected content, but here it is red because it's the B that is inside selected content. It's so mind-bending because like there's technically nothing inside selected content, so we had to update our CSS parser to make sure that if you are selecting something within a selected content, we need to check within every option to see if there's something like that, so that we don't mark that as unused. And you can do some pretty crazy thing, to be fair. Like you can do stuff like selected content has B, for example, color red, or maybe let's do background red. And if I change this so that one of them does not have a B, this will still, like it's red as long as I select something that has a B inside. So like if I do this, it's not red. If I do this, it is red. So like it's a bit of a mind-bending experience, but please go and try to break it. So like if you go to the Svelte repo, there is the pull request number 17429, customizable select. Open the playground, try to break it so that we can figure out if there's something missing. Except the option stuff that I knew about, and I didn't want to look at it until this moment. Let's see, because I'm pretty sure that I missed some messages. So with regard of the context cache, I would assume that if two LLM use the same embedding model behind the scenes to create the byte array, they would cache that, but that's just a guess. I don't know. To be fair, I really don't know. I hope they do it. I don't think they do it because that's wasted money for them. I don't know. Yeah, the option itself works. It's just that basically the real problem with the option is that the only, like, we cannot update something. We cannot update something within selected content. The only thing that we can do is that we can empty the button and reapply selected content so that it works. There's also some other weird thing, like you can technically also put it outside. Like I can do stuff like this, and I can do something like ID I can't remember the syntax, but basically like you can even put it outside, and then like you have the content of the select within the selected content here. It's a pretty wild word. I need to figure out if everything works, but please go and check it out. And I think, guys, that's actually it for today. So I lost my, yeah, I think I closed it. But thank you for joining. Thank you for like dragging along with me. Happy 2026, and I'll see you guys next week. See ya.